This episode of the PC Perspective Podcast is brought to you by Kaspersky Total Security. Kaspersky Labs' award-winning internet security software gives 400 million users the power to protect their banking, browsing, shopping, and socializing from dangerous online threats. Get 50% off Kaspersky Labs' premium software. Go to kaspersky.com and use code PCPER at checkout.
Welcome to the PC Perspective Podcast. After some technical difficulties, we're finally ready to start off episode 412 on August 10th of 2016. I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm Josh Walrath.
I'm Sebastian Peak.
And as you can see, Ryan is off gallivanting across the pond. He's in London, so with any hope, he is drunk, passed out with a half kebab next to him, which he will wake up to tomorrow. Possibly on the toilet, possibly not. We don't know. We don't want to know. But if you do want more, if you want to know when we kick these shows off so that you can capture all of the wonderful fun that we have trying to tech support ourselves as Skype, Windows, and various other programs come up with brand new problems for us each and every week, you can subscribe to us on our little handy spam list, which is pcper.com/subscribe. And we'll send you a quick little email letting you know when this show will happen, a variety of other things, such as oddly timed QuakeCon podcasts, or even giveaways and interviews with technical experts. You'll get the email, and you'll know when we're going to kick things off.
Maybe it'll be a 19-hour live stream as we drive to QuakeCon and forget to turn off the stream in the hotel room at night. Maybe.
There were some mysterious noises that you are more than free to try and identify.
You know, we did a 12-hour stream. They said a 24-hour couldn't be done, and they almost did it. Just make it audio only.
As it turns out, you can just sleep through part of it.
Right.
And people will stay tuned.
Maybe they were sleeping too. Who knows?
Yeah, we're so good at it, we don't even notice we're doing it anymore. It's almost shocking. And if you like this sort of quality content and you want to listen to road trips of these lunatics wandering around or Josh cursing at his system, you can follow us. You can donate to us on the Patreon page at patreon.com/PCPer. We are currently up to $2,282 per month. Thank you very much, the 406 Patreons, which have passed us a couple of bucks. Without Ryan, we don't have access to the Twitter feed, so while you can still tweet him obnoxious usernames as you're donating during the show, he's still going to have to read them. We just aren't going to get to hear them out loud, unfortunately. So win some, lose some. Next week, who knows? So since we're running ridiculously late, and sadly almost all of the news this week is about storage, we're missing Al, so we should be able to wrap this up relatively quickly, because he's been posting a lot of content. But not so much here with us to read it. Up to and including, if you deal with long-term storage in a large scale, how would you like a 10 terabyte Seagate Barracuda drive? It's not too bad. And for everyone who wants to start screaming, oh no, spinning rust is dead, flash is all the way to go, I dare you to try and convince somebody for long-term dead storage to pay for a 10 terabyte SSD that sits there. It isn't going to happen.
Well, 10 cents a gig, I mean, that's not too bad.
Yeah, but what's the pricing on this thing?
I don't think it was much.
Well, they're saying $500. So
that's awesome.
So it's about 5 cents a gigabyte.
So when you're talking long-term NAS drives, or when you're doing the sort of thing that this is intended for, which is enterprise-level usage, being able to hunk one drive at 10 terabytes apiece on a single SATA connector means you can expand your data storage significantly. This is using the new Helium stores that they've got, but I really encourage you to go and read that article, which I honestly haven't had a chance to read yet, if you're at all interested in high-density storage, because there are some interesting little tricks that they've pulled on this one.
Yeah, the read, like if you sequential, like if you look at Alan's review, sequential performance of this drive was very high. It was the highest of the group that he tested, except for the Red Pro.
Yeah, well, specifically for NAS.
Yeah, but the max was higher. His sequential was almost 100 megabytes per second. or I'm sorry, that was the minimum. His average was 189. So
That's not
very,
bad.
very high.
That's like a
large drive
SATA
like this,
3.
you're probably going to be doing big file copies anyway. You're not really going to be using this for random access.
189 megs. That's like a X25M.
Yeah.
Yeah, for that sort of purpose, it really truly is. And that's honestly probably what you're going to be using it for. So, hey, before you discount the hard drives and say they're dead, believe me, I'm still working with tape. Because it's good for certain things.
Godspeed.
Hard drives have their own place too, and maybe we can upgrade.
What things would those be, Jeremy? I think that would it be capacity, and that's it?
And just dirt cheap, and it's solid.
Oh,
we
well,
just
yeah,
store it
that's true.
securely, and unless the entire bloody place burns down, it don't care. It's still going to be good. And it's even cheaper than this drive. So that's enough about a hard drive that honestly a lot of our readers aren't going to do. On the other hand, how would you feel about the brand new Asus Maximus 8 Extreme motherboard? Extreme in price at $500, but it also has an incredible amount of features on it. The price also nets you what they call the OC Panel 2 device, which is a completely separate device which sits on your desktop and is a fan controller, voltage monitor. It can put your system into sleep mode, slow stuff down if you're trying to do extreme overclocking during posting. So that alone actually sort of helps you understand why the motherboard is so obnoxiously expensive, because, I mean, the Z170s have been out for a while. It's kind of hard to sell a flagship board without some extra features. Of course, this one also does have quite a few extra features on it. It takes a long time, but up to, on the slow end, you've got your two SEX ports, but otherwise there's a U.2, there's an M.2 PCIe 4 on it, which can both be used. The LN2 mode jumper, as I implied with the slowdown for the boots during the OC. It has 3 Wi-Fi antennas, Bluetooth 4. The long list of like MemoK, Safe Boot, Direct Key, Clear CMOS, the 2 LED or 2 character LED display for troubleshooting. So overall, like, it's got just about everything, sadly up into and including their RGB disease. It does have one of those.
It's optional.
Yeah, you can turn it off.
I feel like at this price point, you'd have to have it because you have to have every feature imaginable to justify it.
At this point, I'm surprised my microphone isn't RGB.
Oh,
I will say I'm surprised it does not have dual NICs.
That's the
for
next
this
$1
price.
million idea.
Yeah,
Microphone RGB.
we'll have to get on that.
I'm a ventriloquist.
Oh
Don't
my
ask whose
god.
hand is up
Stare
where.
out.
So the UEFI, as you would expect, is beyond inclusive. If you want to do it the very quick way, they've got easy mode, which allows you to do essentially what you used to be able to do on the old school motherboards, where you didn't actually have that much options, or the advanced tabs where you're doing bi-core overclocking, playing with just about every single thing that you can on this. The CMOS placement, just to give it away, is in between the first and second PCIe slot, which, while unfortunate, doesn't necessarily mean too much to Maury, because when he took a look with his favorite cooler, there is no way you're actually going to fit a GPU in that first slot with his wonderful Noctua. As you can see, it's not a good angle.
I mean, this is an expensive motherboard. Who would put a large cooler and try to cram as many GPUs in it as they possibly could?
This is a very good question.
That would be ridiculous.
I would stick with Morian saying that, that is a bit of a drawback to this. Although it does, I should mention, ship with the shim for the new processors, so you probably won't crack your new core. It's also got an insanely heavy-duty mounting plate on the back. As far as the benchmarks went, as you would expect, it sits impressively on the top of one of the other 170s that he's tried by the margin of error that you would expect from the exact same chipset being tested. On the other hand, stability-wise, it wasn't too bad at all. To jump over to his overclocking conclusions, he got up to 4.6 gigahertz with a 4.5 gigahertz ring bus, and memory clocked at just under 3.5 gigahertz without any problems whatsoever. Fairly decent. As well, just to wrap up, he mentioned it does have Intel Gig E network controller on it. Good if you can actually take advantage of that and say don't live in North America where internet is perhaps not everyone at Josh's levels, but a lot of us sort of at that level. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And apart from that, I mean, it pulled off a gold award because of the huge amount of features available on the board. The drawbacks were, as we mentioned, the BIOS battery placement, and of course that $500 entry tag is a little steep, even though it is partially mitigated by this nice little OC device that it comes with, which comes in two modes. Normal mode, where it's essentially the size of a multimeter, and extreme mode, where it's just a small little LCD. Just to let you know. But now for the moment everyone has been waiting for. Sebastian's pictures. Because, you know, Sebastian takes the best pictures ever. Especially when they're sexy heat sinks.
Because Sebastian
big
is
silver heat
reviewing
sinks.
Le Grand Macho.
You should really be more excited when you say that, Josh.
Le Grand Macho.
Now put some facial expression into it.
No,
Yeah, you're wooden, Josh. Come on.
that's what my wife says. I thought it was a compliment for a long time.
So, the Legrand Macho RT, and the distinction is that this is the RT because the Legrand Macho is an existing product and it's just the heatsink. So basically, Thermalright took that passive heatsink, which they market as like a replacement for a stock Intel cooler that can keep your system running at stock speeds with just the normal airflow without a fan. They add a high performance 140 millimeter fan to the mix, and now you have a new product. It's $79.99. So this is right at, if you were looking not at the D15 that Mora uses in his pictures, but the one before that, you can still buy a Noctua D14 for $79 on Amazon most of the time.
Are they like Klingon kind of inspired names?
What?
You know, Klingon D10 battle cruiser. Do you people have you ever watched Star Trek?
Of course, I've watched Star Trek,
Lies.
but I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah.
Where was I? The fan, the big heatsink. So it looks impressive. It's huge. I have a picture of it attached to a mini ITX board because I thought it was funny. Because when I looked at it from above, I almost couldn't see the board.
Who are you, Brian? He was giving away mini ITX cases and gigantic heat sinks at QuakeCon together.
That's funny. Nice. But
As
it
it
didn't
should
pose
be.
any clearance issues because I will say the footprint of this, I tried it on two different motherboards. The footprint of this thing, it's very tall. Like there are 7 heat pipes and they keep it lifted just enough that it stays over the profile of any standard RAM, not really tall heat sinks or anything. So I didn't have any
It looks
clearance
like it
issues
should
at
be
all.
off balance.
It does look like it would be
Just
off
the way
balance.
that
In
the
fact,
heat
it is off
sinks go,
balance
looks
without
like-
the fan.
Ah, okay.
If you didn't attach the fan the way that I did, it fell over and I couldn't take photos of it. I saw one of the comments said, "Are you sure you put that on right?" Like they said, did I have it on backwards? No, because the back of the heatsink is smaller than the front of the heatsink, and then you could put it on the sides. You could really put it the fan anywhere you want. But I chose this way because it was the most like symmetrical, I guess. But in any case, the airflow was the same, and it was a push configuration, as you can see.
Ooh.
But
you know, if you put a speaker in front of that and put Maxwell at the bottom, it totally makes sense.
It would.
yes, it looks like that. It looks like a giant fan or a giant speaker.
No, it's the guy who's sitting in his chair.
And his scarf is blowing from the speaker.
Exactly. And so if you look in the profile of that picture, Ken,
Working on it.
you're so slow. But
Shut
we
up.
love Ken.
Ken's frozen too.
Oh no, all videos are frozens. There, see? Pretend he's sitting in a seat. You see, seated on a CPU. Zero
Josh,
dynamic.
you have a vivid imagination.
I see things in clouds, too.
Oh, interesting. Like
Yeah.
a doggy and like a goose.
Well,
Are you sure you want to ask that question, Sebastian?
No, I don't. I'm sorry.
More like chirons and, well, never mind.
Anyway, it comes with a really nice hardware kit, as you can see, including a screwdriver, which is nicer than the screwdrivers I own, and some of the nice thermal paste that they sell. So the hardware kit, the product itself looks fantastic and seems very good for the $80 price tag. And it comes with one of those shims too. So if you're worried about your thinner Skylake substrate, it comes with a plastic spacer to kind of even out the weight distribution under the clamp. And I don't honestly think it makes that much of a difference if you're very careful about pressure on the CPU, but we've seen evidence of these things being bent, so it's nice that they include it.
If you're buying something called Le Grand Macho, I don't think you're very careful when tightening down heat sinks.
Yeah, it's big, but it's 900 grams, which is not the heaviest heatsink I've ever heard of. It's still, that's not counting the fan, so it's well over 1,000 grams when you have it all installed. So I can see a little bit of concern, but it has a really heavy mounting system. Not quite as beefy as what Noctua sells with their SecuFirm 2, but this thing went on pretty nicely, and it felt rock solid when it was all done. The only kind of odd thing is the hole in the top of the heatsink. You have to sort of fish down there with your screw on the end of the screwdriver to get it in there to actually attach the other side of the CPU plate. But that was easier than I thought it was going to be because the screwdriver that is included is magnetized at the end, so it held the screw captive, and I went right down, and it was fairly easy. You do have to go kind of back and forth and tighten it down evenly unless you have a second screwdriver, but I didn't have an issue getting it nice and secure and level. And I didn't have any kind of clearance issues at all. So once I had that bracket installed, basically you're ready to go. And I took it right to the test bench. And the performance of this cooler, even as I retest all of the coolers I have here with a slightly different test methodology that I'll begin my next cooler review with, still, against everything else I've done the way I've been doing it, the only thing that beat this with at least, my stock Core i5, which is not that challenging of a test, still, it took two closed-loop solutions, high-performance ones, the Corsair H100i on performance mode, which is the much faster fan speed and the max pump, and the EK Waterblocks XLC Predator 240, which is a super high-performance all-in-one that's actually made out of individual components that are pre-assembled. And then right behind those, we have the Le Grand Macho, keeping it even under stress, where I'm literally throwing a torture test with Prime 95 at it, and it held it to 31.3 C over ambient. And ambient in the room was varying between 22 and 25, so I always do individual readings on that, but still, never seeing it go above 55, 56, even with the room temperature being around 78 degrees, was very impressive under stress. And then it did it so quietly that I had to redo the noise testing over and over again to get it to register anything above ambient. And ambient in the room was 33.8. So the low is 33.8 because I couldn't hear it. And it wouldn't register anything on the noise meter. So under its fastest fan speed during my tests, it got up to 34.2, which barely audible. You will just hear wind noise. You will hear turbulence from the fan blades. And if you put your ear close to the heatsink, you'll hear the rush of air against the heatsink itself, but that's about it. So extremely quiet. You're not going to hear this inside of a case. If you have the room for it, given the design of this not posing really a installation problem for me anyway, and I don't think it really would even with taller RAM heat sinks, because you could mount the fan at a different location on this. You could reorient this. I just happened to have installed it the way that I did. But very, very impressive for the price. I gave it the Editor's Choice Award. I have not completed overclocking testing with this. I'm going to do an update with my big air coolers and just kind of do a roundup and see how this goes with a like 4.5 gigahertz overclock at about 1.25 volts. And see what that does on this Core i5.
Hey, you know what I'm most disappointed about with this cooler?
What?
They didn't call it the Grand Nacho, so that in English it would translate to the big cheese.
Next iteration.
Just let that sink in.
Oh, I get
Next
it. Let that
iteration.
heat sink in.
Oh.
You missed it.
The joke dissipated.
Yes. Oh.
We scraped that one off like the bottom of a... Sorry, I'm not going to go there. The Grand Nacho.
Hey, everybody. Time to take a quick break and thank today's podcast sponsor and make you really think about the idea of internet security. This episode of the PC Perspective podcast is sponsored by Kaspersky. Kaspersky Lab protects people from the real threat of cybercrime. It happens every day. Ask Delta. I don't think that was cybercrime, but I'm just saying you're never sure, right? Kaspersky Lab internet security software has participated in more independent tests, won more awards, and placed first. That's important. First, more times than any other internet security company. 400 million users around the globe are using Kaspersky Lab Total Security to protect their browsing, their shopping, their socializing, any of the stuff that they really do online. And that's important. You want to make sure you're covering all of your bases here. They provide a special offer of 50% off of the premium software, the Kaspersky Total Security Package, 50% off. It gives you online protection when you're on your PC or your phone or even your tablet. Protect your banking, your browsing, your shopping, and your socializing, which I guess is something other people do when they have free time. I don't really know, but protects you from these dangerous online threats. Go to Kaspersky.com. That's KASPERSKY.com. Use the code PCPER at checkout, all one word, PCPER at checkout to get 50% off of Kaspersky Total Security. And we thank Kaspersky for their support of PC Perspective. Back to you.
So how about that slightly better Xbox?
I don't know what that is.
What, the Xbox One S?
It's pronounced the Xbox once.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Sounds like you're
Okay, it was
talking English, but I
Xbone
don't-
before, so is it just Xbones now?
Yeah.
Plural?
Xbones you.
Damn it, Jim, I'm a console, not a Blu-ray player.
So they made it smaller.
The front of it looks like it has a speaker on it.
The absolute opposite of Le Grande Nacho.
It's true.
It's smaller. It's more efficient.
And how did they do that, Josh?
How do they do that? Well, this is a strange thing called
Process
AMD
node
semi-custom.
shrinkage.
What they do is they take orders from people like Sony, Microsoft, and they go ahead and design things to their specifications. Once they do that, it's all downhill from there. The people take it and run. They pay them some money, and they go and fabricate these products
And shove
on
Jaguars
processes
inside.
of their choice, namely TSMC 16 nanometer. So,
But
you got an
Josh-
Xbox One
But Josh, I
on
thought AMD
16 nanometer.
I thought AMD GPUs were on 14 nanometer.
That's right. But you know what? They just design the things. They don't fabricate them. They don't make the wafer orders. Why would you want to do that? It's all liability from there, especially if you're dealing with global foundries. So, Sony, Microsoft, these guys, they go to TSMC. It's a known quantity. It may not be the greatest thing in the world, but it's not bad, and it works. So, we've got Xbox One S on 16 nanometer TSMC, and apparently it is fabricating well. Take with that what you may. Compare, contrast to global foundries. See what you come up with. But you know, at least AMD has an out if things go really south on 14 nanometer process.
Which we all hope and pray will not be the case.
Yeah.
Please get it right, guys. It would help. So moving along, we've got a couple of interesting bits of information from the storage. What do they call that right now? FMS.
Flash Media
That's
Summit.
Summit. So Alan is currently summiting and presenting many posts, some of which we almost comprehend. For instance, Universal Flash Standard is something that we've talked about a little bit before, and it replaces the utter freaking nightmare, which is eMMC, which is currently being used on SD cards and various other small storage platforms, and change up to and including your smartphone, more or less. And we're replacing these with proper flash memory with a standard that's being brought across just about everything. So no longer are you going to be dealing with insane formatting commands and optimization to make stuff work. It's also going to significantly increase your capacity and most likely your speed. In fact, up to the level of a current generation SSD, because that's the flash they're using. In all cases, they're going to be in 32 gig chips. I don't see that he put the package size on them, but you can be pretty much sure that they're going to be tiny. And anything else anyone remembers off of this one?
Other than I misinterpreted what FMS stood for, but
well,
we should probably not go into that.
Oh, and there it is. 32 gigs is 60 millimeters square. Nice and tiny.
That's not a lot of millimeters.
Wait, what? 32 gigs, 16 millimeters square?
60. Well, 60.217.
Yeah, that's better, but still,
It's
that's
still tiny.
It's impressive.
Your base model cell phone won't be 32 gig anymore after this. At least I can't imagine.
We can only
it would
hope.
be.
Unless it's an Apple product, and then
And then you got to buy some space from them in the cloud.
And besides, this is Micron. It's not OWC. So
Hey. Apple's the only one putting real storage in phones. Their
also
phones are NVMe, bro.
yeah,
the phones are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Anyway.
Is it their own special NVMe?
Well, of course. It's Apple.
Did I even ask? As well, we finally saw a little bit of info on X-Point memory. And the slides pretty much speak for themselves. It's a wee bit faster.
Yeah.
In theoretical cases, I believe with the Q depth of 8, he was seeing 1.8 million IOPS from a single card. So 7 gigabits a second worth of Core K random performance, which is more or less what they were promising. You know, they were boasting around 1,000-time improvements, and well, it's not quite there yet, but it's certainly at least an order of magnitude better. 10 times is nothing to sneer at. We don't know what the prices of this is going to be, so that U.2 device could be a little bit obscenely expensive. We can kind of hope that it's not the case.
I don't think I can count as high as that drive will cost.
Yeah, it's going to be impressive, even the 32 gigabit one. But considering the IOP difference, you're actually going to run into two things. One is this is absolutely brilliant if you are running a hardcore database or a server with multiple hundreds of users simultaneously. If you're loading up a Doom level, it's going to be hard to justify that extra cost because honestly, you're going to shave a couple of milliseconds off. And those last couple of milliseconds are going to cost you a pretty penny.
Well, think about it this way. The value is high because Alan was saying the number is somewhere around 1,000 times higher bit level endurance than regular NAND flash. So even if it costs 1,000 times more, it'll last that much longer. In theory.
Because, storage standards actually last more than a couple of years.
Obviously. Look at Josh. He's probably still using SATA 1 on his computer.
That's why his video's frozen.
No, he's on a parallel ATA drive. It's a Maxter 20 gigabyte drive.
The hell's
Yes.
wrong with a Tappy? Is that not good enough for you anymore?
No, it's not.
Jeez.
Anyway, it's a 10.
Okay.
Diamond Max drive. Get it right.
I have a quantum fireball in my system.
Ooh.
Oh, now we're talking.
6
Now
gigabytes.
let's go to Bigfoot, shall we? 5.25-inch discs. Oh yeah. These are the days.
the little Grand Macho of hard drives.
It truly was.
Also takes up more storage space. Physical storage.
Yeah, your
Yes.
your Windows install cannot exist on it, but you could use it as a second drive.
I could store 17 pictures on it.
Can I use it to cache my SSD?
Yes.
You could
Because
use it to
it
bash
runs
your
at a
SSD.
blazing 23 megabytes per second.
Wait, is that sequential or random? What's the 4K performance on that?
How do you tell the difference?
We're still trying to finish the test.
Right. It's been a couple of weeks. It'll get through it.
All right. Well, after that, let's jump right on to huge racks of flash. And this one is actually kind of spiffy. I name a company that needs an obscene amount of data storage that needs to be ridiculously quick, and you should be thinking of Facebook. These
The
guys,
NSA. Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
It's pretty obvious. So what they're doing is using what they call worm QLC NAND flash. And yes, that is quad level. So each bit has 16 different, so there's 4 bits per cell, 16 individual voltage states for each cell, replicating the data. So it's a little bit difficult in that you've got to be very precise when you're writing it. Reading it, you can be a little bit sloppier, but you're still going to have to error correct for just voltage migration. And you're also going to have something in there to stop that, because that is incredibly tiny voltage differentials in a very incredibly tiny amount of space. On the other hand, these guys at this point are confident enough to come to market with it, so the chances are it's going to be pretty good. The catch is only good for about 150 write cycles. This is more intended for writing, and a bunch of people are reading it, but you're not actually writing to that cell again very often. If you're constantly changing your Steam library, ULC isn't going to be for you. If you've got something that you're constantly pulling from and just reading, not really writing much to it, this will be brilliant. So what they're talking about is, I'm trying to find the storage density that he was talking about. It was about 100 terabytes on a single PCIe card. So about the same size you'd expect from, or same size you'd expect from a 2.5-inch SSD. But 100 terabytes. Needless to say, you'll be able to stack a bunch of these together into a single 1U rack and just have gobs and gobs of available memory that is just ridiculously fast and ridiculously dense. I don't look forward to trying to rate benchmarks for this.
No. It's like the CD-ROM or DVD-ROM of Flash.
Yeah.
You can kind of write to it, but you really don't want to.
Yeah.
It's kind of read-only.
But if 5,000 people, or hell, if 50,000 people want to look at the exact same picture at the same time, no problem. There you go. All you can have it. No issues whatsoever. It's interesting, and just sort of following how Facebook is dealing with the storage aspect of their enterprise can be really fascinating, because it's more than a little bit neat in what they're doing.
Yeah, considering they're the de facto server for everyone's photos for everything now.
Yeah. For a
People
while.
want fast access to their children's entire lives are on there from birth, and who wants to wait for spinning media?
Well, and besides, that way it makes it harder to rewrite your past, right?
True. I'm sorry,
Rewrite
you've reached
yourself
your
150
rewrite
times
limit.
and you're gone. And then the last thing, so that we can move on here before we completely derail the bus, is Samsung is announcing a new generation of vertical NAND. 64 layers worth.
64?
64.
If only they
A
could
nice
do
come round
999 layers. Thank you.
We're working on it.
Thank you.
We're working on it.
That's non-orthogonal. Power 2. It's overrated.
But it's
So it's 64 gigabytes per package at 512 gigabit density.
Yep.
That's a lot.
Gigabits per die. So even the lower capacity ones are still going to see an improvement because like the lower capacities with less channels on their controller, still going to see an improvement. Or you could go big, like say the 32 terabyte drive that Samsung is offering without a brand name, because you don't need a brand name when you're 32 terabytes of SSD.
If you have to ask for a brand name, you can't afford it.
Wasn't it just like last week that we saw like the 15 terabyte drive and we were all kind of amazed?
Yeah.
Who had that 60 terabyte for some $15,000? Or did they even announce a price? He just said, hey, look, here's a 60 terabyte drive.
Yeah.
Call us.
You want it, just give us your PIN numbers and we'll take what we need.
We only take Amex Black.
My 128 gigabyte SSDs are just coasters now. I'm ashamed to even have them out in the open.
Like they've been replaced by a single die.
Yeah. Well,
Oh, sorry,
yeah.
2 die.
Two of these. You think about it, a 256 gig drive would just be 4 little NAND chips on a board.
Oh, no, it's way less than that.
Is it way less than that?
It's already like that. I think it's already 2 for like a drive that small.
Okay, so 512 gigabit divided by 8.
Yeah.
Do the math.
64.
Right, so you need 4 of those to make 256.
Unless I'm missing something.
You probably are, but I'm too lazy to look.
Cache. Well, you need some extra storage space so that when your cells die, you can do it. They'll just throw an extra 15 terabytes on the back end.
An important distinction, too, Samsung is doing this 32 terabytes with this new 64-layer flash in a 2.5-inch form factor.
Yep.
Seagate's recently announced 60 terabyte drive is 3.5 inches. So they're actually like cramming a lot more inside of that 3.5 inch package. And Samsung is just doing this, I think, with their new NAND on a standard 2.5 inch PCB.
That's how it goes. The smaller it is, the more expensive it is to replace when you break it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Samsung, man, in the Samsung T3, it's 2 terabytes and 4 packages because they're 16 stacked 16 high in a package.
Oh, okay.
In the H50 Evo, the 1 terabyte is 4 packages, 8 dies apiece. So yeah, your 250 gig SSD is 1 package at most, maybe not even stacked up as high as it.
No,
Can't they do like 16 stacks anymore?
Yeah, they can do 16.
That's nice.
So this slide that shows a 64-layer at 512 gigabit density, that is for 1 layer then. Like one finished package, but they can stack the packages after that.
It's 1 die, and they can stack dies. into
Okay,
a
to make
package.
the okay.
Storage density be going up.
It's not 10 cents a gigabyte, though.
Obnoxiously.
As
No,
far as
it
we
will
know.
not be.
So that's lame.
No, it will not be for a while. This time next year, who knows? This may be the crap-ass stuff that you've actually been giving away to relatives because you just can't bear to use it anymore. So, anyone want to talk about a fancy case with an SAD panel?
I can.
Sebastian?
This is called the Aurora, and don't be confused by the similarity to Dell's Alienware high-end PC name. It's just a case. It's a very nice case. It's got tempered glass on both sides. The rest of the case is steel and plastic, though, to keep costs down. This is a $99 enclosure, but it looks really nice. This is like InWin 303 kind of style, the high style with RGB, of course, support.
Not just RGB, but SSD RGB.
Yeah, I've never seen this before. Inside, to the right of the motherboard tray, you have like a little slot to plug in your SSD, and you can customize the lighting. And the glow apparently shines up the side of your SSD. So if you get like a a silver, like a Plexer or an Intel SSD. You could put it in there and just have it glow any color you want. So SSD style matters now. Don't worry about performance. Look for the label that's going to reflect the most light for the inside of your case.
Will my 32 terabit drive reflect more than a lesser drive?
I guess you could buy like custom skins, like get SSD skins. I could start a web store for this.
I've already started the Etsy site,
Okay.
so we're good.
Ken's SSD skins at Etsy.com.
Yeah.
So they have a little product video if you look at the post on the website, and the specs are good. This is your solid like mid tower that supports all the way up through eATX motherboards. It's got higher end features, very nice looking like cable routing with grommets and all the good stuff. So for $99, the fact that you're getting tempered glass on both sides is kind of a big deal. And I do like the fact that the component side is clear. The back side is a smoked glass. So if you don't have the neatest cable arrangement, it will help hide it. Which in the past, the smoked tempered glass that I've used does really do a good job trying to hide that stuff. So that is the Bitfinex Aurora. It's going to be available by the end of this month at that $99 price point. I did not see it listed anywhere yet for sale.
It is a really nice side panel if you're obsessive in your modding and buy an RGB memory, an RGB motherboard, an RGB everything.
You know, if you're going to buy that Maximus 8 Extreme, you might as well get a case like this.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If you still have $100 left.
And so last up, we've got high-powered, low-powered cards from AMD, which we should probably force Josh to talk about because he's
No! Why
quiet.
would I do such a thing? Rust bucket. Wait, say again?
Rosebud.
Rosebud. Anyway. So yeah, Asus. They're adding a couple of Radeons, RX 470, RX 460. The 470, of course, is a cut down 480. It's one single, is it an 8-pin still, or they go for 6 with this
It's
one?
6 on these.
Yeah. So they're not that much slower than the 480. I mean, yeah, they're cut down. They're 4 gigs, but they're kind of right in the area where, you'd expect them to be in terms of price. They're not heat monsters. They have a nice aesthetic appeal, and they're quick. And it's under $200. What can you do with that?
Look at that 460 though, Josh. Even the
Look
460
at the 460.
has a 6-pin.
That's the 460 is a 6-pin.
Yeah, on this Strix gaming version it is.
Oh, that's right. Because a couple of people have put out ones that don't have a pin, 8-pin or 6-pin.
Right, because it's rated for under 75 watts, so it's supposedly can just run on board power, but they've overclocked this, not significantly, like 26 to 53 gigahertz or megahertz.
Holy crap.
Yeah, but
It's monster.
there's the 6-pin, so I don't know if that's for additional overclocking, I would assume, but the other thing I noticed about this is the pricing. The RX 470 gaming overclocked is $199, so the same price as a 4 gigabyte version of the RX 480 if you can find it at that price. But I'm sure probably pretty comparable performance once you overclock the 470.
Yeah, but you can overclock the 480.
Exactly. So now you're at $200. It's $10 less for the version that's less overclocked out of the box. And then you go down to the 460, it's still $139.
139 seems pretty nice.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, $139 for a card with 896 shader cores and a 128-bit memory bus.
Yeah, but the difference between spending $139 for a graphics card and $189 is substantial at that price range.
Yeah, I guess
That
I'd have to look at the
that extra
performance of the
50
RX 460 versus like the 750 Ti or
It's just nice
A
to see new
950.
graphics cards hitting like the sub 150 because we know NVIDIA's not going to go there anytime soon.
no, the
We'll be lucky if they hit
won't-
MSRP.
what is the 460s? The base 460 is like a $109 card, right?
I don't know.
Yep. Could be.
So you're paying about a $30 premium for an overbuilt card that you can overclock. So that's not too bad.
And a better cooler.
Oh, it's, yeah, significantly better cooler. It's smaller than the other two, and they're using a smaller PCB, of course, different card. But still a dual slot, still a dual fan.
Nice. Ship
Not so
those
bad.
products, AMD. You need them.
And if you can get them in supply, you can beat NVIDIA because better the card you do have, the card you don't have.
Yeah, you'll sell a lot if you have it in stock. It's hard to sell things when you don't have anything to sell, I've noticed.
Really. Or at least it used to be. Now it's not quite as hard as it used to be, but still. Anyways, that's it for the news of the week. So we've just got some hardware software picks of the week, or at least theoretically we do. 'Cause the show notes seem strangely empty. But then again, I go first, so
Well, just give me a second, all right?
yeah, I will stall for you.
Save my bacon!
Well,
Exclamation point.
yeah, the bacon.
And only $7.95. No, not even that.
Yes, well, cheaper than mine.
Well,
Yeah, I thought I had a problem of having too many Steam games until I caught this little subscription thing for Stream Crate, which is 70% off through Stack Social, which I've never used before, which means you get another extra 10% off. And so if you're not familiar with Steam Crate, you get 10 games every month on the 16th from Steam. They're almost always new. They are not necessarily AAA, although they have given away some AAAs in the past. And why not get 120 games for less than $100? This way your Steam library can get even more obnoxiously out of control, and you can just sit there and stare at it and be paralyzed by choice and then have to go sit back down because you don't actually know what you're going to play.
I'm gonna need
So-
a bigger SSD.
Yeah. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, or just, want to pick up some relatively games you never would have thought of before from Steam because you'd actually have to pay money, now, boom, they'll show up. It's not all going to be crap, and you might actually end up playing something you've never heard of before that ends up being something you really enjoy for a while. Regardless, you're going to get your money's worth. Just remember to unsubscribe about a year from now, because otherwise they will renew it at full price. Put a reminder in the calendar, kids. Was that enough time, Josh?
yeah, I got it going on. So anyway, my pick is a new webcam. No, this
The one
one's
you're using
perfectly
now.
fine. Captures my je ne sais quoi, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, this week I had a newer laptop come to me with some issues. And it was, interestingly enough, related to the anniversary update. But the guy had an mSATA drive. I didn't have a machine that I could read off of it. So, had one of these puppies. $7.29. It's the best $7.29 my company that I work for ever invested to save time, money, and productivity. Fraction of the cost, especially when a person is billing out at $129 an hour. This saved us, and it worked. It's not fancy, it's not pretty, but comedy never is.
So,
Did you get to bill for all the hours until it was delivered by Amazon?
Well, happily, somebody in the office had thought ahead of ordering me one of these and sending it to me 6 months ago.
wow.
I know. My IT director, he's thinking. He's a smart guy.
Should probably order a M.2 one at some
I was
point.
going to say, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to need to. Or I can just open up one of those motherboard boxes behind me
True.
that's got an M.2 adapter behind it. But neither here nor there. For $7.29.
Oh, man.
Thank you.
Sebastian's going to make me spend money. I just opened
Thank
his
you.
pick.
This is such a nice controller.
I hate you.
And Technoscope in the chat recently reviewed the SNES version of this. And the quality is exceptional. Like in his video, he showed like the texture, like they got the texture right even on the SNES controller. It's exactly the same with this. If I take one of the original NES controllers, obviously this is a different design. This one incorporates more of the features of the like Nintendo Wii era classic controllers. You have the dual analog joysticks. You have additional shoulder buttons on the top. You actually have R1 and R2 buttons up here. This functions
getting way
over
too
USB or Bluetooth. What was that?
That's getting way too complicated now.
Yeah, I mean, it can be. You don't have to map all the buttons, but I picked this out specifically because it has any of the buttons you would ever need to map it to any emulator, basically. I could do PS2 emulation with this because I have dual shoulder buttons. You can do anything you can do with a classic controller, so all the Nintendo stuff. And it works with iOS, Android, but unfortunately the Android, I believe, has to be rooted. I've not tried it yet. Windows, Mac, and so far, just using it on my PC here, you would need a Bluetooth dongle or just use it with a cord. It's a very solid gamepad, and it feels fantastic. It's got very good like tactile feel. The buttons feel fantastic. It has a really good D-pad, which seems to be kind of an overlooked thing on controllers. So for just playing NES games or actually really playing any games, is a very nice controller. Retails for $39. I think they sell it right on Amazon. I'll have to add the link in there. But the 8-bit Do or 8-bit Do, I'm not sure which one it is. This is the NES 30 Pro.
So what's the difference? Is there any functional difference between the NES and the SNES one?
No, I think it's just the
styling.
The styling. I believe the mapping is actually fewer buttons on the SNES one. It has the single shoulder button on the right.
And it
now.
doesn't have analog sticks.
No, it's a pretty faithful reproduction of the SNES. This is more a retro update to the classic controller from Nintendo. And it lights up. I mean, it's kind of helpful when you're setting it up because the lights change. Like amber means one thing, blinking blue means another thing. So you kind of know what's going on as far as like the pairing process goes. But so far, so good on this controller. It basically looks as good in person as it does in the pictures on their website. It's a little bit more of a beige color to the plastic, but otherwise, very, very impressed.
Oh man, they have a Famicom colored version.
Do they?
Oh, nice.
They do. Open.
Ken should be showing this on the stream and not me.
I'm opening.
He should definitely show you.
Oh, it looks like the anniversary edition of the Game Boy Micro,
Yeah.
minus the screen. Well, actually, the screen could be there. The Game Boy Micro had the smallest screen ever made.
Yeah, I played a Game Boy Micro a couple weeks ago.
And have your eyes recovered yet?
No, they haven't.
The contrast is amazing and the brightness is exceptional, but it's
Actually,
like an inch and a half.
The thing I had more of an issue with was how close together the buttons were. Like,
yeah, you need to be like a micro-sized person for it to work.
I could deal with the screen for a little bit, but like I just kept jamming my fingers into buttons. So yeah.
I cannot believe how expensive those are on the used market, by the way.
Yeah, they held their value.
Like $200. And if you find one new,
Or
Ken, are you still
You
there?
found one new.
Yeah, you cut out there, but
Oh,
in
okay.
a gold
be
mine.
fine.
You'd have the Grand Macho of eBay purchases.
if only I'd ever bought them and then left them in their boxes and still know where they were so I could sell them today.
it's the American dream.
Or planning on my part, I suppose.
America.
Anyways, that is going to bring this podcast to a wrap. After a bit of a stagger to get running, but I think that we managed to get up and going and get through it. And next week we will probably have an Alan and Orion back, although you never know. They've both been gallivanting across the planet for a little while now. And they might not even be allowed out of their houses for a little bit because some people might actually want to see them. So with that, this will wrap up podcast 412. I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm Josh Walrath.
And I'm Sebastian Peak.
Hooray!